Most of you probably know ELTjam primarily as a blog. And when we set that blog up, the idea was to try and start examining the way in which technology was impacting on English language teaching. And what we didn't want to do was the kind of, here's 100 cool things to do with an interactive whiteboard. Because there are loads of people doing stuff like that and doing it very, very well. So we wanted to try and do something different. The idea was we wanted to sort of do a bit of analysis to look at an industry level how technology was impacting English language teaching. And actually at the beginning, kind of ELT publishing, which is the background we all came from. And I think we also wanted to lift the lid a little bit on the world of EdTech, the big scary world of EdTech, and figure out what was going on there. And I think over those last 3 years, I think we've said some important things, to be honest. I'm very, very proud, in fact, of what we've said over the last 3 years. I think we sparked some well-needed debate. I think we issued a few stark warnings about some things that might happen if we didn't change the way we were thinking about ELT, and I think sadly some of those things have come to pass. I think we've seen that quite recently, but let's not dwell on that right now. I think for the last few years we've used the blog mainly as a way of observing and commenting on the world of ELT, and as a space for other people to observe and comment. And we've got loads of you in this room who've written for us, which is also absolutely amazing, so it's very, very happy to have all of you here as well. There's a term known as the observer effect that some of you may have heard of, which describes the phenomenon of the way in which the act of observation can have an effect on what you're observing. And I do wonder sometimes, is the fact that we're observing ELT through this prism having some kind of effect on the industry? I'd like to think that it is to some extent, but I'm not sure it's having quite enough of effect. There's an American congresswoman called Shirley Chisholm, and she once said this quote, which I like very much. Oh, sorry, not that quote. That's the right quote. And actually, she said in 1964 she said this. And then a year later she said this. So if anyone does want the Wi-Fi password, that is what it is. And if anybody would like to tweet, Tim, you could have told me I forgot that. Did you try and tell me? Okay, so onto the congresswoman. She said this. She said, you don't make progress by standing on the sidelines whimpering and complaining. You make progress by implementing ideas. I wouldn't suggest for a second, I don't think, that we've spent the last 3 years whimpering. I hope we haven't spent the last 3 years whimpering. I think we've done a fair share of complaining, maybe. I think we've occasionally wanted to kind of shake things up a little bit and kind of got a bit frustrated, especially with ELT publishing. But I do feel that now is the time to start making some real progress, and now is the time to start implementing some ideas. And so tonight I want to introduce you to an idea, or two ideas really. And the first one I want to introduce you to is this. It's called design thinking. It's an idea, it's also just a way of approaching things. Design thinking is a way of tackling very complex and taxing problems, and approaching them the way designers do. Do we have any designers in the room? I know Sophie's here. Paul's a designer. Designers approach problems in a very certain way, and this way is known as design thinking. And there's a term that designers use to refer to certain types of problems, and I swear to God this is absolutely true, and I absolutely love it. They refer to wicked problems. Wicked problems. Now, obviously we're all language educators, we can talk through all the different meanings of the word wicked. What sense of wicked do you think is being used in this phrase? Good. Not good. Yeah, this is the malevolent use of wicked. This is wicked meaning bad, wicked meaning evil. I just love this, the idea of wicked problems. And design thinking is designed to help you solve wicked problems. So a wicked problem is a problem where the problem itself and the solution are ill-defined. And let's think of some examples. Why does this learner require language at this pace and this learner requires it at that pace? Why did this activity work with that class and it didn't work with this class? Why does no one remember how to use the present perfect when I taught it last week? Why does everyone drop out of my online course? Language education is full of wicked problems. And I can think of few problems more wicked than trying to master the English language as a way of succeeding in your career or as a journey to economic prosperity, which is what most of our learners are trying to do. That is a wicked, difficult problem. And it's also a problem, I think, worth solving. So what gets me out of bed in the morning is knowing that we are trying to solve a big problem that for many people is life-changing. And I don't mean this as a criticism against all of ELT, but I think as an industry, our approach to the wicked problem of language learning has been to try and simplify it. And I think we've done this by attempting to make it appear more straightforward than it is. So, for example, when we talk about a grammar syllabus, we can't figure out how we acquire language, so let's just give it a grammar syllabus. We bring the CEFR in, let's give it some scales. We start measuring the frequency of words and start thinking, well, let's just start with the most frequent. That's a logical thing to do. I don't think any of these are solutions to the wicked problem of language learning. I think they are crutches that help people learning a language feel like they understand the system they're in, feel like they're making progress, and feel like there is a system. And I'm not sure, 100% sure, that there is. I think right now we're kind of stuck a little bit in ELT because we are looking at the problem of language learning with too few possible solutions. I think we are well wedded to the idea of classroom instruction and content mediated instruction, whether that's online or face-to-face. And I think a lot of what we do that's new are just kind of iterations of what we've already done. Let's put the book on screen, let's put the course online. I don't think that's quite enough. So I think we need to start asking ourselves if we could do more. So design thinking encourages us to think differently and to just explore a million different options, a million different solutions to a problem. And it encourages you not to settle until you've found the right solution. There's a joke that goes, how many designers does it take to change a light bulb? The answer is, why a light bulb? And to that I say, why a classroom? Why an LMS? Why a book? Why an app? Why any of it, really? I honestly can say, for those of you who've been following our recent progress on the blog, that by far the best language learning product I've ever built in my entire career, 15 years now, is literally my phone number. That book we built, Anne Ask Me English, is literally my phone number on the phone. And it is by far the most effective language learning product I've ever created. That's not an app, that's not an online course. So I think we started ELTjam as a way of exploring what was happening in the industry. I think now we have a responsibility, all of us, to try and do some big, exciting things for the industry and for the people who benefit from it. That's a big goal, and I think the best way to get to a big goal is with a smaller start. So our first step towards that is to try and introduce some design thinking into ELT, and we're calling that Learner Experience Design, or LXD. LXD is a way of improving the experience of language learning and making it more, more effective, while making it more fun at the same time. It's about exploring the problems of language learning and trying to find good solutions. And right now, we kind of feel like that solution kind of looks like a recipe of 4 different things: of great pedagogy, of incredible user experience, of really good content, and of allowing people to interact socially with each other or with teachers. But that's not how it always will look in the future, and that's the super exciting thing, I think. For me, the idea of learner experience design, of reimagining the experience of learning a language, is an incredibly exciting, wicked problem to be sitting here facing right now.